Jumping into that, another anniversary we saw this week was those shows we saw, those Nine Inch Nails shows we saw in Boston, at
Yeah.
the Orpheum in May of 2005, which is just crazy to me that it's been 15 years. So maybe that's one of those shows that, I mean, what's the Orpheum hold? A couple thousand? It's
I
not
think it's
big.
27.
Uh,
I think I looked it up.
yeah, so
27.
good sized venue, but not a big venue at all. And Trent coming off, haven't made music in what, 6 years,
Yeah.
because The Fragile came out in '99, and then he got clean in that time frame too. So this was kind of a reintroduction to the world for him. But to go on tour and play those shows in those small venues, and we got 2 nights in a row in Boston. That was just badass. And like we were like, as soon as we heard about it, I remember saying, "All right, I'll buy tickets to the first night, the 12th. You buy tickets to the second night, the 13th, and we'll just figure out where we're gonna stay after. Like we'll just deal with it. We'll stay in the car. We'll find a hotel room. We'll figure it out." It was about, I think there was four of us, Nate, in our
Yeah.
group. And then I know, Twan, you went the second night,
First night.
first night.
The
Twan,
12th,
we
I
saw
think.
you. I remember seeing.
Yeah.
How did it come about for you guys?
So for me, I went with a good friend, because I was in college at that time. Good college friend, lived on my floor. Huge Nine Inch Nails fan. In fact, if he didn't kind of tip me off to the show, I probably wouldn't have even known about it. But I remember we got tickets to we decided to go the first night instead of the second, but went to the first night and it sold out very quick. And I remember, I think it was someone else that we knew also wanted to come late in the game and turning to the eBay route, and they were jacked up prices. We're talking like $200 to $250 for a, what was it, a $50 ticket, $40 ticket, huge markup.
I think it was. Yep.
Because I mean, it had a couple things going for it, which was small venue, big demand, but also, again, like you said, they hadn't been at it for a few years, so increased demand. But that's how it came about for me.
Yeah, I think it was like $50, somewhere around there before service charges. That's crazy, man.
$38.70 with service charges.
With service charges?
Yep.
Wow.
$30 ticket, $8.70 of service, so whatever charges that I paid. Yep.
Wow.
That's,
Come on, you just.
I mean, so $40, man. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, $30.
I know. I'm trying to think with inflation what that's like. At
Probably
now.
60 to 70 now.
Yeah,
With,
so it's
with,
still
with fees 130.
still
Oh
a good
no,
price.
less than that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm talking. That was a joke, a fees joke. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
the
probably
fees, yeah.
$60. Probably $60, I would imagine.
Mhm.
It's $55. Yeah.
Yeah, 50. Yeah.
I forgot about buying. How I used to do the same thing. If I was locked out of a show, I would. eBay was the place I went, and that was. I think that was before StubHub, so that makes sense.
Oh yeah, way before. No StubHub. No.
Yeah.
None of that stuff.
Yeah.
You used to have to go to an actual brick and mortar that sold aftermarket tickets back then. There weren't a lot, or eBay. There weren't a lot of options as far as digitally getting your hands on those. So
I had a strategy. This is a tangent. I had a strategy.
tangents.
I had a strategy with buying eBay tickets secondhand, and it was all based on time. So if the auction ended super late night and there wasn't anyone watching it, because you can watch the auction close or whatever, and it's down to like one or two people that have that kind of motivation to stay up and watch it, you'd be getting a little mini bidding war. And I got lucky a few times where I got tickets at pretty much face value. And then they added buy it now later, and that obviously makes people just anxious, like, all right, whatever, I'll pay more. But that was the strategy.
I was going to say, I have another strategy. So there's definitely that.
Yeah.
You looked at the ones that ended at weird times, but this next one was a hack, which eBay since corrected. But back in the day, when you would search for, so say I wanted to look for Nine Inch Nails tickets. Well, if the person selling the ticket misspelled Nine Inch Nails, it wouldn't come up. The search wasn't smart enough. Nowadays, if you search like Nin Inch Nails, if you forgot the E, Nine Inch Nails will still come up. But back then, you would search for misspellings, so because no one else would know about them. So you could get like the guy trying to sell it for a penny.
That's crazy.
That's amazing. I love that you guys both have you both had hacks as to how to find tickets for shows. That's
Whatever.
so
Not just tickets, but like people would misspell
Anything,
stuff
but
like
yeah,
anything. and it's like
That's like our buddy. That's like our buddy buying National Basketball Association with one S or whatever.
the URL.
He wants to sell it to the NBA someday. Yeah, .com. He wants to send it to the NBA, sell it to the NBA at some point.
Twan, actually, I have done that hack, not for tickets though, but for promo posters for albums that drop that are kind of iconic or whatever, and you buy a promo poster auction, and I remember getting a few for like $5, and they were selling on other auctions for like $150 because it was misspelled, and being like, damn, I just got it for. I mean, it's a free poster. It's a promotional poster, but obviously it's, kind of a memorabilia piece now. So.
Well, limited quantity too, right? Those came out when the album came out, and then they disappeared. So.
Yeah, Mark with Amoeba kind of referenced this. It's like something that the company planned on people hanging these up at a record store. They get thrown out basically. But for nerds, we frame that stuff.
So that leads me to a tangent that's going to our Bull Moose, and having the free bin that used to sit there. They had a little trash bucket, like Oscar the Grouch trash bucket that sat next to the register, and they'd have old promo posters in there and just random. I remember getting that Rage Against the Machine VHS tape in there, that Live and Rare or whatever VHS tape they put out. And I remember for the longest time in high school, they had that System of a Down poster hanging in the window in the Portland one, the downstairs one. And every time we went in there, like, oh man, at some point they're gonna put this in the free bin. We just need to be here the day they do it, so we can get it, or like make them an offer, like, can we buy that for $20 because it's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that actually brings me back to the Nine Inch Nails thing, because I got what was it? I was gonna say Fragile poster, but it might have been. Was
it And All That Could Have Been the?
Yes, it was.
Okay, because I have that too. I have that.
Wow. Yeah. Awesome. You just read my mind. It happens a lot on this show.
I have it. It's actually 2 feet from me right now.
I got that.
Hold it up. I'm recording the video, Twan.
I'll hold it up.
Go ahead, Nate.
I got that poster, and that's kind of what got me into Nine Inch Nails a little bit, the teaser, because it was that live album. I bought that live album. I got that poster, checked out a few songs, bought the live album. Then Tone, you and Donnie and a few other people that were like heavy into them got me into them like way more. And then I picked up everything else, and The Fragile actually has become one of my favorite albums. Wow, nice. Juan's holding up a poster in a promo.
Yes, check our YouTube, you'll see it on the YouTube video. I'm gonna splice it up too. It won't be just one long 140 minute or whatever hour and 40 minute thing. Yeah, that reminds me too, Nate. That was kind of how we all got into them. That group of friends, Nate in North Carolina and our buddy Donnie here in Maine. Just listening to Nails and going to the shows, and those are the guys that we went with to that show at the Orpheum. Nate, Donnie, and Donnie's brother Toby, Box, as we called. I love Box. Box is the man. But yeah, we just. I think I bought the day 1 tickets and Donnie bought the day 2 tickets, and we were on each other's on the phone, just like, hey, get on now. And we tried to, we're on our computers at home buying the tickets, and we got through. And we're like, I got him. Did you get him? Yeah, I got him. All right, cool. We're gonna go. Then we had to figure out what we were going to do to stay, right? It's Boston. It's spring, so it's not the easiest place to find easiest time to find a place to stay down there. I remember staying at Club Quarters.
Yep.
If you've never heard of the Club Quarters, they have tiny little rooms. It's very serviceable. It allows you, it's for business type people who are going in and out of cities and just need a room to sleep in because they're working the whole time they're there. We were obviously going down to nerd and not work, but I mean, it was work for us. It was fun work for us. We were going down to, check out one of our favorite bands at the time. And then, bop around to Newbury Comics on Newbury Street in Boston, which is also a blast. It was spring in May. It was May in Boston, springtime. People are, it's warm out. People are loving life. Everybody's coming out of the doldrums of winter. So that was just a blast of a trip. But the Club Quarters was something that I remembered. I've actually since stayed in the Club Quarters in Houston, Texas.
What?
Not as Not. I mean, it was fine. It was a Club Quarters, but the one in Boston was a trip. I just remember that being like, this is what a hotel room is like this. This is tiny, and we're like sleeping on the floor, and like we had two like twin beds. It was the smallest little friggin' hotel room, but
so is we that made the it name work of the hotel? Club Quarters.
Yeah, Club Quarters. Yep. They're a chain, obviously. I don't know how many there are, but our first foray into that was in Boston, and it was like $140 a night, but there was 4 of us, so it wasn't that bad. But I mean, college kids too, so trying to make that work was fun.
As a visual, think like San Francisco studio, like literally like enough to like lay down. It was tiny.
Or like a cruise ship like a room on a
even
cruise
better.
ship. Yeah.
That's a great,
Or like
even,
or like Kramer's apartment, and when he has the guys from Japan come over and they sleep in the armoire.
Tone. This all makes sense now. And Twan bringing up the poster because that live album came out, I believe, in 2002, maybe.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Yes, it was in between the two studio albums. Yep.
So okay, so that makes sense. So I got into them late. So, and Nine Inch Nails was on essentially a hiatus. So Trent was taking a break from Nine Inch Nails, working actually with Maynard James Keenan, to do a side project called Tapeworm that never got released, and then decided that wasn't going to work out, and then get back to writing for Nine Inch Nails, and then '06 came. So all of us were super ramped on Nine Inch Nails at that point, and seeing them the first time in theaters, the Orpheum Theatre in Boston especially, is such a cool venue. I remember going thinking, man, this is a bummer. It's all seated, and like the security there, I don't know if you guys remember, the security there is extremely strict. If you move like 4 inches out of your mini 19 or 1860s, balcony chairs or whatever, they get super pissed. But yeah, those shows are fucking gnarly. I did the write up on the Instagram, and it was just like a trip.
Yeah. Well, you're right. January of 2002 that came out, and it was live. It had some live aspect, which was from the Fragility 2.0 tour, which was in 2000 after Fragile came out, and then some unreleased stuff too, which there's some piano stuff, kind of like the Ghost stuff that you hear now, and then there's a couple of songs with actual like stripped down version of The Becoming, a few other things that are really cool to check out in retrospect. So go back and peep those if you haven't.
Yeah, so getting into them on a live album and then seeing them live and then in a theater, like for a nerd, that's just like overload.
Yep.
And that's the thing is like that venue, you talked about strict.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those venues where they usher you to your seat,
Mm-hmm.
no flash photography.
Yeah.
And I think that was enforced that night.
Yeah.
There. But it's one of those things like it's a give and take. Do you want to see him at the Garden or do you want to see him there? Whole different experience. For me, I would sacrifice the freedom of the Garden for the intimacy of the Orpheum, even with some restrictions.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yep.
And then
we've seen them in both, right? I mean, we went to Tweeter or whatever it's called now, Comcast or whatever in Mansfield, Mass, and saw him there too, and that was fun. But it wasn't as intimate. It wasn't as like I'm in this building whose ceiling is falling on my head. Like this is way cooler. So it was good to see him. Good to see him in both. But definitely that intimate venue is always fun.
Yeah, Tone's alluding to anyone that's read the Instagram post on this show, kind of a snapshot. We're doing like a weekly snapshot of shows that we were at. I did a flashback, and quite literally, the ceiling was kind of crumbling apart because it's such an old venue. It was built in the mid 1800s, so it's very old. And so, yeah, pieces of the ceiling were falling down on us. It was really crazy. And the balcony that we were sitting at Tony, and Twan, you were in the orchestra?
I was down below, and I was under the overhang.
Oh, okay. So you saw it kind of going up and down?
Not as much, but
okay.
But I think even where I was, you could see like almost like dust, like flakes and dust, and you sometimes you get that at like the Palladium in Worcester and things like that. But
yeah, this was like legitimate paint chips like coming down.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, it was like what I just like looked up like what is hitting me in the head, and it was just like paint from the ceiling and plaster and dust and all that. I was like this
lead paint,
and that, right, Trent, and that's why I am the way I am. No, Trent is Trent's gonna knock this building over tonight. Like this. Hopefully, we can come back tomorrow.
Yeah, it was the weirdest feeling, like being on the balcony and feeling it kind of hover up and down like a diving board in slow motion. It's like this is, but you're kind of distracted by the music and the show. So you're like, if it happens, it happens. It's that weird euphoric feeling where you're like, this is really dangerous. Like this could all go wrong, but I really digging this show. So if it happens, I'll know because I'll be fucking on the ground. But man, what an epic show or run of shows, man. That could have been Concert Impossible, but we all made it happen.
We did. Yep.
Super bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
I bought the lithograph from that show, but I can't find it. So
no.
Either I lost it or I sold it. I can't remember.
I hope you sold it.
Yeah.
one. I have two if you need one.
Do you really?
I might want one too. I'm gonna enlist your services to help find me one on one of those misspelling on eBay.
Yeah, look for
I'm trying to-
Limp Bizkit, Biscuit.
Yeah. Who's Lynn Biscuit?
You can get cheap CDs.
Yep.
Yeah, great
Cool.
memory. So yeah, we'll bring up more of those. Anyone that was at the show, hit us up. We'd like to hear your stories. Maybe you were
Yep.
in part of the balcony where it was starting to crack.
Yeah, that was something else, man. I just remember one last thing on it, sitting out front of New Break Comics, just watching, just kind of people watching and girl watching, and be like, oh
Yeah.
wow, this is fun.
Yeah, young and single. I think I was
Yeah.
21. You were 21, right? Yeah.
Yep.
21, seeing Nine Inch Nails in
20.
Boston. You got the energy of the city. That's already really cool. See, that's another thing. You're talking about Tweeter Center. That's all the way in Mansfield. And unfortunately, it's not as pretty as you'd think being in the countryside, at least in that venue. But Orpheum Theatre, right downtown Boston. So you're in it. Yeah, man. I love that stuff.
And for us, the Tweeter shows are another hour and 15-minute drive on terrible highway, versus Boston. You're in Boston pretty quickly from Southern Maine, if an hour and a half tops. So, and then Boston's fun to walk around. So it's a great place to be for 2 days. In between shows, having stuff to, it's with good weather, places to eat, places to drink, places to, record shop, all that stuff. So it's a fun place to go for that stuff.
Yeah. Tweeter Center, your car might break down on the way.
Yes.
Flashback
Yes.
to episode
Yeah.
4 or
Yep.
5.
Concert Impossible.
no, that was a more
not Concert
recent one.
Impossible. Show Regret.
Show
yeah,
Regret,
Show
sick.
Regret. Yeah. That'll come up again too, I'm sure. But
Yep.